Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames, and I'm back again with another video. This time talking about everyone's favorite company on this channel, and that's Capcom. And I wanted to kind of go over some of their history and talk about some of what we kind of like love and sort of miss from Capcom, because right now, as of recording of this video, this is 2025, and Capcom's about to have a pretty great 2026. We got Onimusha coming back with a brand new game using its RE engine. We got Resident Evil 9, of course, and we also have Pragmata back from the dead and actually looking really hot. I got to play it myself this summer, and it's actually a really fun game. So it's looking really good for next year for Capcom, but I would be remiss to say, like, I kind of miss some of their older, lesser, known or just less big franchises. And I think there's a lot of us who we love the fact that Capcom is re-releasing a lot of them. We got the Fighting Collection 2 this year, which had a ton of great games, got an amazing update at EVO. But yeah, like, it's great that we have easy access to play some of our favorite classic titles. On the other hand, though, you can't help but wonder, with Capcom doing as successful as they are, like, what would a modern day game look like? What would a brand new version of some of these classic titles look like, especially with their RE engine, REX engine? And you just can't help but wonder. I think Onimusha really, puts that, in my mind, and I'm sure it does for a lot of other people. But that being said, though, I wanted to make a list of the Capcom 5, if anyone remembers the GameCube era, Capcom 5 era games that I think I would really like to see a modern version of. Now, these are not remakes, these are not remasters, these are not ports. I'm talking about a brand new game in each one of these franchises, because I think they all have a little bit, they all have merit, they all have something to bring, but I don't know that they'll ever happen, though, despite how much we may want some of them. But anyways, starting it off, number 5, obviously, let's go. You're looking at it, you're seeing it. Power Stone. Power Stone is an amazing, I don't want to say like a brawler beat 'em up, sort of the genesis of arena fighters in a way. This game came out of almost nowhere to me on the original Dreamcast, and it was just such a breath of fresh air, because it was a game where it felt like you could really interact with everything. Jump off of walls, like kick off of walls, swing around poles. You could pick up any chair, any object, and throw it. It felt like, wow, like the arenas, like where you were fighting was like everything was truly there, truly interactable, truly alive. Obviously, there's some limitations now. The game is very old, but it's still a beloved title. It's still a beloved, I guess, quasi-franchise. There were only really 2 games in kind of the PSP version, which combined the first 2. But yeah, Power Stone is a game that I think has merit because it's so pick up and play. It's so easy to grasp what you're doing in the game. Now, there is, like, obviously a depth and stuff when you get into it, and in the sort of like the dodges and reversals and what have you, and you can catch objects thrown at you, which is just very cool. But yeah, this is definitely a franchise that I think a lot of people will be excited to come back, but it's hard to really gauge how super successful it would be. And of course, if you were going to bring Power Stone back, you kind of got to treat it as a new IP. In other words, you probably don't want to call it Power Stone 3. You probably want to just call it like the Power Stones, or Power Stones plural, or something like that, or Power Stone, give it a subtitle like, New World Adventures or whatever. Just kind of like keep it simple like that. The other thing that Capcom really could do is they could take the gameplay structure of Power Stone, and they could really just start throwing a bunch of classic Capcom IPs into it, make it sort of their Smash Brothers, if you will. I think a lot of people will be okay with that, as long as you did include the original Power Stone cast. It's not very large. You could easily throw all of them in there. But yeah, I think that would be a really fun thing to do. It's also a game that Capcom wouldn't necessarily have to break the bank on. The arenas are very small, generally, in Power Stone 1 and 2, and they don't require necessarily a ton of work, I would say, but like, yeah, just be creative, but don't go like overboard with them. Just have a lot of small fun arenas with like very like simple gimmicks. Some of the stuff you're seeing here, like conveyor belts and elevators and stuff like that. You don't have to go too nuts on this, but yeah, this would be a great title, I think, if Capcom wanted to have a sort of maybe a little bit on the cheaper end fighting game that they could sort of constantly update, throw new characters in. Again, movesets are not huge in Power Stone, so you wouldn't have to necessarily worry about like putting like Street Fighter 6 levels of characters design into each new fighter. So I think it could work as a sort of, not in budget, but sort of like an in between, like a mid price fighting game, like a $30 maybe $40 game, and then have, like, if it's supported it like well enough, for a couple years, it could definitely turn it again. And if you went with the Smash Brothers route and just put all the Capcom, started throwing all these Capcom beloved characters in there, you could probably easily start selling this this game as a brand new sort of, not necessarily in other fighting, but like a different fighting game to complement Street Fighter 6. So yeah, I think Power Stone coming back would be I think a lot of old time Capcom fans would champion, but I think you could really sell it because it's just a fun, easy to pick up game. Move, punch, pick up things, throw things at people. It's just a lot of fun. It's got a lot of potential, I think. Moving on to the next one on my list here, and this one's a little bit maybe not even that old, but maybe forgotten, and that is Lost Planet. Okay, maybe this franchise is a little bit lost. Yeah, I avoided that one, but yeah, Lost Planet kind of had a weird sort of, it went out like a wet fart. Lost Planet 3 was this weird sort of cinematic, tried to be like the first game done by a European dev, didn't really go over that well. REP Sparks, I don't even know if they're around anymore. And then you had the weird 3DS PS3 game that was very sort of stylized, had like manga letters, like big kanji, not kanji, but like hiragana letters or whatever. And it didn't even get a localization because of all the weird on-screen text that was in like hiragana or katakana. But anyways, I think you can't really look at the success of Monster Hunter, and you can't look at that and think, oh, that could never work again for Lost Planet. Lost Planet was kind of heading in the direction of being a sci-fi Monster Hunter, like Monster Hunter in the future. Now, I'm not saying it needs to necessarily adopt that gameplay style in particular, but we do still live in a world where co-op is huge. Co-op is beloved. And Capcom has literally the perfect engine to do something with this. Now, they've had some trouble with the big giant open world stuff with Dragon's Dogma 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds, and I don't think they should go that route with Lost Planet, but I think a much more curated, level by level co-op mechanic would actually serve very well. I mean, it feels like such a weird no-brainer because they've got games like Pragmata coming, they've got Monster Hunter, they've got all these, Resident Evil games, third person and first person. They have literally everything at their fingertips to make an amazing Lost Planet 4, a big co-op Lost Planet revival game. And I don't know why they're kind of not taking advantage of that. Like, again, it probably all just comes down to the fact that Lost Planet 3 was kind of a big flop. 2 didn't meet expectations either. 2 and 3 were kind of back to back, like, oh, we really hoped they were going to sell more than they did. And then they didn't even bother with the 3DS and PS3 one. That was all like cel shaded and stylized. So I think Capcom is just sort of like, oh, they got cold feet because the franchise didn't blow up like they hoped it would with 2 and 3 after the only successfully doing it with the first game. But I think they're sort of missing the forest through the trees here. It's like, that was a long time ago. That was like 2 console generations ago. It's been some time. And again, people love co-op. They love hunting big old bugs. They love shooting with their friends. Like, you can't look at games like Lost Company and Peak and sit there and say like, oh, well, there's no market for co-op gaming. There's a big market for co-op gaming, a huge market. I mean, Capcom alone has their own proof with Monster Hunter World and Rise, and they sold like 10 million Monster Hunter Wild still. But yeah, like, it's kind of like almost amazing to me that they don't see the potential here in their own franchise that just is tailor-made to the games that are selling well. Remember, Monster Hunter was not a worldwide phenomenon until Monster Hunter World. And World was technically the 5th game, but also like the 10th game released. Like, it took a long, long time for Monster Hunter to find its audience in the world. And for Capcom to sort of get cold feet after just 3 Lost Planets, especially since they pumped all 3 of them out in the same console generation. And it's a little bit like, I feel like you're kind of like throwing the baby with the bathwater out here. Capcom, you have a really, really good idea, a really, really easy sell on your hands. This is a I don't want to say surefire hit, but like done well, done correctly, this is an easy win. Like, it would actually be a great thing to have. Imagine having Lost Planet games in between your big Monster Hunter games. They complement each other very well. They're not quite the same, but they're also similar enough to be like, okay, you're going to keep me engaged. You're going to keep me playing with my friends. Who doesn't love a good sci-fi bug hunt? Like, look at what Helldivers is doing. How can you look at what Helldivers is doing and sit there and be like, yeah, we have something just like that. Should we do anything with it? Nah. I don't know. It's almost baffling that Capcom doesn't or hasn't really looked back at Lost Planet and gone like, we can do that too. So it's sitting there. It is a ripe fruit for the picking, and I have no idea why Capcom is just sitting there looking at it like, I'm going to let it rot on the vine. Bewildering. Okay. Next game, though, is not quite so bewildering. Actually kind of makes sense why it never actually gets any new games. But I think there is maybe a path forward for this, and I'm talking about Darkstalkers. Okay, I'm throwing you gooners a bone here. Okay, like I am actually going to bat that Capcom should make a new Darkstalkers game. Why? Well, because I think we're living in a world where games like 2XKO are coming out, Marvel Tokon is coming out, and Invincible Versus is coming out. And I think people's aversion to highly animated, cartoony fighting games is pretty much gone. I think people like the stylized stuff now. And if there's and we definitely live in an era where people are super cool with all the hornball stuff. So Darkstalkers feels like why don't you just do a new Darkstalkers? Now, if they do a new Darkstalkers, one thing they absolutely cannot do is they cannot make it look hyper realistic. They cannot do the traditional Street Fighter 6 thing. They cannot just, you can use RE Engine because again, RE Engine is an engine. It is not, dictating how a game has to look. Again, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrections runs on RE Engine, and that's a 2D game. So all I'm saying is for Darkstalkers, whichever way they go, if they ever did bring it back, I would say don't make it look hyper realistic. Embrace the sort of 2XKO, embrace the Marvel Tokon-ness. Go in there and make it look hyper stylized, make it look super anime and violent and gory and sexy and whatever. It's Darkstalkers. You know what you need to do there. But I mean, the question really becomes, how do you do this? Like, what does Capcom do? Because obviously they have a whole team working on Street Fighter 6 and probably some other fighting game that's not Darkstalkers. And I would say the easiest thing to do to me is to go back to a Capcom collaborator they've gone to before, which is Aiding, and get Aiding on board. Now, Aiding recently did DNF Duel. They did Hunter x Hunter, and they obviously are very good and familiar with using, cartoonish cell shading, anime-styled fighting games. And I think handing the reins off to them would probably be fine. Obviously, maybe you want some oversight. Now, there's two ways to really go about this. And making any Darkstalkers is a huge gamble because Darkstalkers fans, they don't buy Darkstalkers. They buy merchandise. Okay, they goon online, they pay fan artists, keep them employed, God bless them, and they buy statues and they buy wall scrolls, and they like to goon to their female ladies from Darkstalkers. They don't actually buy the games. They don't buy them. They don't play them. They don't actually support them. Part of that is a little bit on Capcom's part because these games have been pretty much easily emulatable for 20 years. So people have had extremely easy access to just play these games illegally on the internet for so long that it's kind of hard for them to sit there and keep re-releasing them and expect an audience to show up when your Texas Instrument calculator could probably run Darkstalkers at this point. But either way, getting to the point, two ways of going about this. One, you go kind of on the cheaper side, just make it a straight fighting game. Don't charge anything more than $30 for it. Kind of just go straight up Darkstalkers 4. It's got characters, it's got backgrounds, it's got an arcade mode, but not much else. And you kind of try to maybe sort of hedge your bets, trying to maybe mitigate your loss on it. The other way you go about it is you NetherRealm the hell out of this thing. And I don't mean NetherRealm as in hyper-realistic. Again, it's got to look cartoony. It's got to look anime. But you go the whole route, they go the whole 9 yards on it, and you have a big, dramatic anime story mode, and you make the game really violent and scary and gory and sexy, and just make it everything every 17-year-old boy wants, you know, everything they dream of and have to clean up their shorts when they wake up. Like, just do that. Just go that route. Just have it be just that hyper sexualized, hyper violent, hyper gory, hyper scary. Like, just really lean into every aspect of it, because Darkstalkers is supposed to be like a horror based fighting game. Just go into that. Like, make it bloody as hell. Make it, like, you know, dark and dramatic. Like, look at like that original OVA from way back in the 90s. Like, go really hard into that. Like, lean really hard. Like classic Ninja Scroll kind of like almost aesthetic, you know, or Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Like, just go with like something like that. Like, just really hyper violent, gory, like really adult. Really sell this fucker as an adult thing, and then all the kids will come, because that's all kids want to do is play M-rated games. So that's a little more risky. It could work. I think if you did have a really cool, good story mode, and you had a really like amazing presentation going with it, and again, you could use a collaborator like Aiding. I think they're a perfect person to go to for something like a Darkstalkers game. I think this could maybe work. I think a lot of it might depend on what happens with Marvel Tokon and 2XKO and Invincible Versus, but I think the response has already been pretty positive for most of those games. And yeah, like anyone who went to EVO and got to play Invincible Versus, the impressions coming away from that and my own are all the same. This game is awesome. I kind of love the fact that we have a more a really adult but more cartoonish looking game that is violent as hell. Like, people's heads getting punched off, limbs getting, you know, shredded. It's like just blood everywhere. Like, it's kind of cool to see that in a non-Mortal Kombat, non-hyper-realistic fashion. And I think Capcom could strike the iron here with a new Darkstalkers that's just gory and scary and weird and sexy, and, you know, just all the things that Darkstalkers kind of was back in the 90s, just that nobody ever ponied up the cash for. I'm looking at you, every single Darkstalkers fan. But enough about that. Let's talk about another game that again, this is more Lost Planet levels of like, how the hell have you not done this? I don't get it. And let's talk about Dino Crisis. Holy God, Dino Crisis seems like the perfect game for Capcom to use the RE engine on. It was already sort of the first non-RE game Capcom made back in the 90s, where they swapped out zombies for raptors. And it's just like, how we've gone this far in to using the RE engine, all these RE sequels and spin-offs and all these other games using it in Monster Hunter, and we don't have a brand new Dino Crisis? It's puzzling to me. Like, I feel like this is such a surefire bet for Capcom. Like, if they can sell a brand new Onimusha on the RE engine, if they can sell new game concepts like Pragmata on the RE engine, you know what they could easily sell on the RE engine? Fucking dinosaurs, man. Like, it's such a simple win. It's such a big, easy, like, hey, yeah, we have this RE engine. We use it to make a bunch of dinosaur-looking things in Monster Hunter. We use it to make a bunch of monsters, a bunch of Resident Evil zombies and stuff. Why not make big-ass dinosaurs? Yes, this would be such an easy win. Now, obviously, Dino Crisis has had an identity crisis forever. The first game was a very puzzly RE clone. And then the second game was a big action-y, RE game, like something like where it took RE 2 and 3, but like cranked the action up to 11. And then you had a weird jetpack sci-fi dinosaurs in space third-person shooter with Dino Crisis 3. And then you had that light gun game, Dino Survivor, in the middle. So Dino Crisis has never had an identity. It's never had a sort of, this is what Dino Crisis is. The most you could say is that, like, hey, it's Resident Evil with dinosaurs. And honestly, that's still good enough. Like, this doesn't even have to, this could be a remake of the first game, but it could also easily just be a whole new game entirely. Maybe including Regina or not. I don't know. I don't know if Regina is necessarily needed for a Dino Crisis game, whether it be a remake or a reboot or a complete reimagining. I think reimagining is probably the way to go. Like, the old Dino Crisis is a little stale and clunky in a lot of aspects, so like maybe more of like a complete reboot is more on the table here. But yeah, I don't know if the main character is necessarily the thing that's gonna, like, oh yeah, this will be the final sell. But hey, I don't think it would hurt, you know. I mean, she's a cool character. Like, it would be nice to see, you know, a Capcom heroine come back like Regina. So there you go. I mean, Dino Crisis to me is probably the most baffling in that it's probably the most easy to make money game that Capcom probably has. Like, of all the games at their disposal, all the franchises that they've sort of left in the dust, I think Dino Crisis is the most. This would make the most. This would be the easiest win. This would be the most surefire thing, more surefire than Lost Planet. This would be an easy win for Capcom. A big budget AAA Dino Crisis reboot. It seems like the biggest no-brainer to me. I have no idea why Capcom is just so off on this. Again, the only thing I can really think of is it's like Lost Planet, where Dino Crisis 3 was a huge flop, and it was an Xbox exclusive. Dino Survivor, obviously nobody cared because it was a Lycon game, probably sold like 50,000 copies max. And then, of course, you had Dino Crisis 2, which came out super late in the PlayStation 1, so it didn't probably light the world on fire. I think Dino Crisis 1 was their only success. And then that led to 2, but it was so late in the PlayStation 1's life that it kind of got overlooked. And then you had Dino Crisis 3, which is a huge flop. And so I think Capcom just kind of got like cold feet. They just got scared. Like, oh, well, the last couple didn't really do super well. And it's like, he's like, man, Capcom, bitch, that was fucking 30 years ago. Like, move the fuck on. There's an audience here now for this stuff. Like, it's a very strange world we live in, where it's like you have the RE engine, you have all these modern Resident Evil games, all these modern Monster Hunter games, and they have this thing literally just sitting here like practically tailor-made for Dino Crisis, and no Dino Crisis. Anyways, let's move on to the last one, and that, of course, is the Blue Bomber himself, Mega Man, and more specifically, Mega Man X. So we got Mega Man 11. It's going on like 7 years ago now, but we also that was kind of it. It seemed like Mega Man went back into a sort of like cold storage, like cold slumber after Mega Man 11 came out, and it did super well and kind of sort of slowly continued to sell really well. It's one of the best-selling Mega Man games of all time now, and even Capcom has updated their series sales chart, and Mega Man has sold like somewhere in the neighborhood of 40+ million copies of all games, of all time. And it's like, okay, so there's a franchise here. There's absolutely a franchise here. Like, why did we stop making Mega Man games? A lot of this could be attributed to the fact that the current producer, or former current producer, of the Mega Man series at Capcom left a few years ago after it seemed like whatever Mega Man projects Capcom had got scrapped. And he was like, well, I have no reason to be here anymore, and left. So it kind of seemed like, okay, Mega Man's sort of been like, all right, he's been put on storage. Like, Capcom doesn't have a champion for it anymore, which is almost insane to think about. The character that at one time was more or less their mascot character has not had a new game in 7 years, and it's going to be going on 8, and it's probably 10 in the not too distant future. I know there's that Mega Man Dive thing, but it's insane. It's like if Nintendo just suddenly decided, yeah, no more Mario. He's our mascot, but yeah. Oh, we got Pokemon and Animal Crossing to sell. We don't need Mario anymore. So insane to me that they wouldn't. And again, if they were going to bring back a new Mega Man game, I think they should go for Mega Man X9. I think it's time. It's obviously the fan favorite franchise. It's got a lot of. It still gets all the remixes. It still gets all the fan love. Most of the fan art. I think Mega Man X9 would be a great way to go about it. Obviously, 7 and 8 were some duds on the PS2, but we're not really, again, that was like 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. We don't need to talk about those anymore. I think Mega Man would be, and again, people be like, well, what engine would they use? Like, again, Ghost and Goblins Resurrection literally used the RE engine to make a 2D side-scroller. You could do the same thing again for Mega Man. And if Capcom doesn't have the people, the resources, or time to make a Mega Man X9, I know a great company that could make a Mega Man X9, that should make a Mega Man X9, and that's Way Forward Technologies. They love Mega Man. They've been wanting to do Mega Man for years. Just have them do Mega Man X9. Like, they did DuckTales Remastered. That turned out really well. Sold way above expectations. Maybe they should do a Mega Man X9. Gee, Capcom, why didn't you think of that? Anyways, yeah. Number one, how you got to bring your mascot back, man. And again, you don't have to do Mega Man 12 because again, Mega Man 11 was already like we resurrected Mega Man with Mega Man 9 and then Mega Man 10, and then it was like, okay, let's do Mega Man 11. And it's like, okay, cool. You realize, Capcom, there was other Mega Man franchises. A lot of people would like the Battle Network series to come back, and hell, the Battle Network series collection sold very well. But again, I think Mega Man X has been out of the limelight for so long that I think it's time to give us X9. I think a lot of people would really like it. It would be like a huge win. It doesn't even have to be a huge game. It could be like a smaller title, smaller budget title, smaller, price. It doesn't have to look like, you don't have to spend $100 million on it. Like it just has to look good. Something along the lines of Mega Man 11, but done with X's art style. And guess what? Easy 2 million sales, bam, right off the rip. Especially if the word of mouth is really good for it, it's just going to just help it even more. Like, Mega Man X9 is, well, I wouldn't say maybe as surefire as a bet as a big budget Dino Crisis. I think that's the most surefire. I think Mega Man X9 would be the biggest crowd pleaser, especially for any longtime Capcom fans. And I think you're guaranteed at least 1 million sales from it. Which, again, how crazy is it in the day and age now where, oh, well, you can guarantee me 1 million? Well, that's not good enough. How is that not good enough? But either way, I think an easy win, an easy moral victory for Capcom to sort of keep their gravy train rolling, their goodwill tour continuing. Mega Man X9, if they can't do it, WayForward is sitting right there. Have them do it. It's such an obvious thing to me. I think this would be a really big win. So this is my Capcom 5, my 5 Capcom games coming from the year 2025. What are 5 forgotten franchises that I think Capcom should, make new entries for? Now, will they? Oh man, I don't know. I think Dino Crisis and maybe Lost Planet might have a chance someday. Mega Man's a little bit of a long shot, but I don't know. I don't know if any of these are ever really going to come back. But hey, I think these are 5 games that if Capcom ever wants to look into its history and go, what are some things that I think people would be interested in playing new versions of? Here you go. Capcom 5. Power Stone, Lost Planet, Darkstalkers, Dino Crisis, Mega Man X. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the channel. Later, dudes.